Well, hey everybody, it is actually the very first day of spring that I'm able to work in the garden. It is not pleasant out here. It's very cold and very windy, and I'm kind of just like done with all the time wind around here. But as you might imagine, there's so much to do in the garden, and I'm sort of at the point where I need to prioritize what gets done first. And the very first thing that has to get done is over here. So this is the neighbor garden. This is the garden that 2 years ago I planted up with our neighbors that crosses our property. But if you've watched the video that I put up on Sunday, you'll know that all these trees are coming out here and all the stumps are going to get ground out, which means all of these perennials will essentially be lost if I don't get them out of there. So I am doing my best to rehome these things. Now there's a lot of geranium macrorrhiza in here, which I can always use somewhere, but I'm less worried about getting that. That's not exactly precious. But there are some plants in there that I do want to rescue, including I have already dug up a wheelbarrow full of this. This is Carrick's Flocka Blue Zinger. So 2 years ago I planted this from a 2-inch plug. So if you're going to plant something like Blue Zinger, know that that's what it does. I love this. I happen to love this grass. I always put a little caveat with this one. It can be a little invasive in some places, particularly if you plant it in more sun. So keep it towards a shady spot and check your area before you go plant a lot of that. It seems to do just fine here for me in shade. So I have a place I'm going to go rehome all of this for starters. But basically, since this is the first opportunity I've had to work in the garden, I thought I'd take you along with me today. I'm going to get this done, and then, like I said, I could literally turn any direction and find something to do right now. So I'm not sure what will happen next, but come along and see. Those are the Bobo hydrangeas. As you can see, like every other hydrangea here, those have not been pruned yet. I've not cut back anything in the gardens because it's basically been covered in snow, and now we've got a lot of daffodil foliage coming up. So I had hoped to be able to maybe mow this garden this year, but I just can't do that if the daffodil foliage is up already. One of the jobs I didn't get to last fall was to re-mulch this path. This is just a wood chip path, which is all broken down, and it's beautiful soil amendment now. So I was going to throw the whole path into the bed as a mulch, and then I was going to re-wood chip this because we've got a bunch of wood chips. That didn't happen in fall. This is the area where I'm going to plant this. I just keep fighting a battle against invasives over here, so I'd rather have this and work between it. Now, the creek is really a problem, you guys. We really need to do something to build up these walls again because it just keeps shifting and soil fills in there, and I don't want to do it, and I don't know who the heck you hire to do that. So in any case, all of this down here, you can tell I think this must have been maybe goldenrod or something. It's very hard to keep that at bay, but up here I can keep things at bay, and we'll just kind of work through this area. My goal here is to try to plant something here that will just outcompete all these other things that want to grow in here. We have a rather epic creeping Charlie problem over here. It's everywhere. I'll never be done with it, but I do hack it out where I can. And the soil's actually super moist right now. Speaking of soil, the soil over here is really pretty amazing. There's some more creeping Charlie. This is like the epitome of woodland soil. Since this has been woodland over here for so long, it's just, there's so much organic material in it that has gotten there over time. It's delicious soil. So you can see how, in fact, this isn't even one I can really pull apart. I'm just gonna slice through this. I'm gonna make many plants out of this. If this is what a 2-inch plug does in 2 years, then why wouldn't I divide it? But so you can see that I can actually just kind of pulls apart. So I can actually just kind of pull it apart from there, get some nice divisions. Before I move too far away from that area, I thought I'd show you what I did over here in the vegetable garden. Again, have cleaned up nothing. So the beds have been frozen solid until this past week. And so I have created little mini hoop houses. Now this is a super flimsy, cheap hoop house set that I bought from Amazon. Actually, there's about 2 of them, 30 pieces each. And I bought the plastic. And I'm trying to create some greenhouses here to get this soil warmed. So I actually have bare root plants and plugs coming real soon. And it works really great to grow those things out in these 2 beds. These 2 beds will actually be my tomato beds this year. So those will be the very last beds that get planted. Probably won't get planted until early June. So I've got plenty of time to work here. Now I will not leave, once I plant things in there, I won't leave that as plastic because it'll cook them. I will put some frost cloth over the top though to help build some heat up in that area. But I was kind of desperate. I didn't know what else to do. And as you can see, I had just sheets of plastic on there that I had previously cut to the size of each bed. That was not doing it. So I thought we better try to do something to get a little bit more heat built up in these beds so that the soil is a little bit more hospitable. The little Boss clematis though that I grow in these 2 pots right by the door here, they are raring to go. Check out the buds on these guys. So this is a group 3, so I will cut these back to probably down to here, like 2 buds, 2 or 3 buds is usually what I cut them down to, and they will grow all the way up and potentially over, assuming I actually tied them in a little bit. But they're raring to go here, and that's all. By the way, the soil here on top, I cannot get my finger in these. Is absolutely frozen solid. So way to go, little clematis. So I just dug up the goat's beard that was over there, and I'm going to put that over in the shade garden as well. So this is all Carex pennsylvanica through here, and you can see that it browned out, but there's green underneath there. So I can just let that be, or I can cut this back. Well, honestly, it might be a situation where I just let it be, just because who has time for that anymore. But this area is filling in really nicely, and I have some more coming this year to continue this. Now, I don't want this just to be Carex. Obviously I want other things growing in here, and there are other things planted in here, but I am adding some goat's beard elsewhere in this garden this year, so this will be a good addition. You can see the little red tips of the new foliage coming up here. So it's very difficult to see where things are in this garden. And this is a part of the garden that I do very little cleanup on, except I will come in here and there's just like sticks all over the place, and I'll clean that stuff up. But you can see that I've added a lot of chopped leaves to this area. I'm trying to bulk up the soil a little bit in this area. It's a little sandy, so a little bit more organic matter. So you can see that I did 1, 2, 3 here, 4, and then 5. And I was going to dig right there, but I realized there's a hosta that lives there. And then I had a little bit of lamium, which I started planting along this area last year. You can see it just coming up here. So I added some more of that here and here along the edge. Lamium is another one of those plants that can be very aggressive in some areas. So I feel like the caveat here is when I talk about ground covers, you should always just check what it does in your area before you go plant a whole bunch of it, because it might be aggressive. I think there's a less chance of that the farther north you go. I still think it's a great ground cover. This is one called Ghost. It's really pretty. And it is a ground cover that is welcome to take over this area until I want to grow something else there. But if there's ground cover growing there, there are not weeds growing there. And that's what it's all about for me, especially when I'm trying to cover a big area like this whole bed. This is all shade. So at some point you have to, I can't fill this whole thing up. It's going to take years and years and years to fill that up. Speaking of filling things up, I did grab a little bit of geranium macrorrhizum, and I started putting some in here last year, and I'm going to put some more of that in here. Another ground cover that can be happy to just fill in until I don't want it there anymore, and then I just move it around. I find that with a lot of these ground cover type plants, they just live in one area until something else lives there, and then I move them to the next area where I need to prevent weeds from happening. It works out pretty well. Now I'll come back and water everything, and it's important to do that, honestly, even if it's going to rain or something, because you need to settle that soil around plants' roots. So it's always really important to do that. Unfortunately, that will be trips with the watering can because we don't have the hoses running yet because it still freezes at night here. But just a note that you should do that. So I thought we'd just take a quick walk around this part of the garden, as long as we're over here, because I'm kind of sick of doing that. So let's do something else and look at another part of the garden. So this whole area, this is the garden I did with Roy Divlik, and he is going to come sometime this spring, and he's going to come and take a look at it, and we'll kind of analyze things. Obviously, I've not had a chance to get in here and cut this back. This would have been another one that was a really good candidate for just mowing down. Obviously, I can't do that. There's already stuff up. Plus, the soil is soft, and this is a rather significant drop off right here. So I will say, check out this skunk cabbage that's right at the front here. We didn't plant that, obviously. So lots of stuff coming up in here, just in need of a good cutback. I don't think there's any in these grasses. I'm just going to do a chop and drop here. I won't take anything away. I will try to chop it up in little bits. Probably shouldn't be tromping through here right now. But from as much as you can tell from this situation, it's looking pretty good. Lots and lots and lots of skunk cabbage in here. This is the flower. Actually, the flower for skunk cabbage is inside of here. Maybe you can actually see that inside of there. That's the flower. These are pollinated by, I think, beetles. And if you step on it, it does smell like skunk, but if you don't, it's fine. So I can't tell you, even though it's kind of a gross day and I didn't do a ton, it's so good to be back in the garden. So I'll just leave you with a few little signs of spring, little snowdrops coming up, some hellebores with buds on them, another hellebore there. Here's a whole bunch more hellebores waiting to do something too. So spring's coming. Be here soon. You guys hang in there. I hope you're enjoying your time in the garden. Even though I get overwhelmed a little bit when I look around at this stuff, it makes me happy to see it. So hope you are enjoying your garden. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.